Let me tell you about the dumbest excuse in all of economics. The one lie that politicians, CEOs, and activists use to justify literally anything. The phrase that shuts down all critical thinking and gets people to support the most wasteful, destructive, idiotic policies imaginable. 3 words. It creates jobs. That is it. That is the magic phrase that makes everyone stop asking questions. Building a bridge to nowhere? It creates jobs. Banning efficient technology? It creates jobs. Spending billions on a program that accomplishes nothing? It creates jobs. And everyone nods along like that actually means something. Like creating jobs is automatically good, no matter what those jobs are doing. But here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Creating jobs is not the goal. It is not the point. It is not what makes an economy good. Jobs are a cost. They are what you pay to get things done. And treating job creation like it is the measure of economic success is exactly backwards. It is like celebrating how much gasoline your car burns instead of how far it takes you. It is like praising a company for how many employees it has instead of what those employees actually produce. It is economic illiteracy dressed up as compassion. And it is costing you more than you realize. Today, we are breaking down the worst excuse in economics. Why creating jobs for the sake of creating jobs is destructive nonsense. How this logic tricks you into supporting policies that make you poorer. And why the entire framework of measuring economic success by employment numbers is fundamentally broken. Because once you understand this, you will never look at economic policy the same way again. And you will realize how many terrible decisions are being made in your name using this garbage justification. Now, before we go any further, if you want to understand how economic propaganda actually works and stop falling for political BS, hit that subscribe button right now. We are a money trap family. We break down the economic lies that everyone accepts without question. No political spin, no feel-good nonsense. Just the brutal truth about why most economic policy is theater designed to trick you. Subscribe and turn on notifications because this is the kind of information that makes you immune to manipulation. Literally. Alright, let me start with a story. 2 economics students are walking through a field. They come across a pile of manure. The first student says to the second, "I will pay you $100 to eat that." The second student thinks about it. He's broke. He's an academic. $100 is $100. So he eats it. They keep walking. They find another pile. The second student, still disgusted, says, "I will pay you $100 to eat that pile." The first student, wanting his money back, eats it. Later, the first student says, "You know, we both just ate manure for nothing. We are both $100 poorer and we both feel sick." The second student smiles and says, No. We increased GDP by $200 and created 2 new jobs. That is the logic of job creation. That is how stupid it sounds when you actually think about it. But politicians love this logic because most people do not think about it. They hear jobs and they think good. More jobs equals more prosperity. More employment equals stronger economy. But that is not how it works. That is not how any of this works. Jobs are not the output of the economy. Jobs are the input. Jobs are the cost we pay to produce the things we actually want. Food, shelter, entertainment, healthcare, technology. Those are the outputs. Jobs are what we sacrifice to get them. And the fewer jobs required to produce what we need, the better off we are. That is efficiency. That is progress. That is wealth. Think about it this way. If I could snap my fingers and give you everything you need without anyone having to work, would you say no because it does not create jobs? Of course not. You would take it because the point is not employment. The point is having your needs met. Jobs are just the unfortunate necessity we deal with because we have not figured out how to make everything magically appear. So celebrating job creation is like celebrating that we have not figured out a better way yet. It is celebrating inefficiency, and that is insane. Let me give you some real examples of how this excuse destroys value. American schools. Since the year 2000, the number of teachers has grown roughly in line with the number of students. Makes sense. You need teachers to teach kids. But the number of school principals and assistant principals has grown 3 times faster than students. Why? Because principals need assistants now. They need help running their office. Okay, fine. But here is the kicker. Administrative staff in schools has grown 11 times faster than the number of students. 11 times. These are not teachers. These are administrators, paper pushers, people managing other administrators. And they get paid more than teachers with fewer qualifications and easier jobs. The entire system has become a jobs program that occasionally educates some kids. Teachers are underpaid and overworked. Classrooms are overcrowded. Students are failing. But we cannot cut administrative bloat because that would eliminate jobs. So we keep the administrators and wonder why education sucks. This is the job creation excuse in action. Protecting useless positions at the expense of actually accomplishing anything. And both political parties do this. One side points to government inefficiency. The other side refuses to cut jobs. Nobody fixes the problem, because jobs. Or look at homeless services in Los Angeles. The city spends hundreds of millions of dollars on programs to house homeless people. Reporters investigated and found a complicated mess of overlapping agencies, nonprofits, and contractors. Very few homeless people actually got houses, but the programs employed thousands of people. Social workers, administrators, consultants, coordinators, all with good salaries and benefits. The programs failed at their stated goal, but they succeeded at creating jobs. So nobody wants to shut them down. Because what about all those jobs? Never mind that the money could be used more effectively. Never mind that the homeless are still on the streets. We created jobs. Mission accomplished. This is not unique to government. Private companies do this too. In his book about BS jobs, anthropologist David Graeber documented how corporations are full of useless positions. Middle managers who manage nothing. Administrators who administrate nothing. Coordinators who coordinate nothing. Newsletter writers nobody reads. Receptionists at desks nobody visits. Culture coordinators creating culture nobody wants. These jobs exist because companies operate on a system where everyone must work 40 hours per week. So if someone finishes their real work in 20 hours, you give them fake work to fill the time. Then that fake work becomes real enough that you need to hire someone else to do the original job. And suddenly you have 2 people where you needed 0.5. But companies love this because it makes them look important. More employees means bigger company. Bigger teams mean more prestigious manager titles. And once these jobs exist, they are almost impossible to eliminate. Because management does not want to admit they were wrong to create them. And employees obviously want to keep getting paid. So the bloat grows. The inefficiency compounds. And everyone pretends these jobs matter. Because admitting they do not would mean admitting we have been wasting resources for years. Now let me talk about tariffs. Because this is where the job creation excuse gets really expensive for you. When politicians propose tariffs on foreign goods, the justification is always the same. We need to protect American jobs. Chinese imports are too cheap. American companies cannot compete. If we do not tax imports, American workers lose their jobs. So we need tariffs to protect jobs. And people support this because jobs sound good. But here's what actually happens. A tariff is a tax on imported goods. When China ships a product to America, the company has to pay a fee to get it through customs. If there is no American alternative, the Chinese company just raises the price and passes the cost to you. so you pay more. If there is an American alternative, the tariff makes the Chinese product more expensive, which lets the American company charge higher prices too. So you still pay more. Either way, you lose. Prices go up, your purchasing power goes down. You are poorer. But hey, we saved some jobs. So it is worth it, right? Wrong. Because those jobs are only viable when you are forced to pay more for inferior products. The moment you let in cheaper, better alternatives, those jobs disappear. Because they were never economically sustainable. They only existed because of artificial protection. So you are permanently paying higher prices to subsidize jobs that cannot compete on merit. That is not protecting workers. That is forcing consumers to fund inefficiency and calling it job creation so you will not complain. But it gets worse, because those protected industries have no incentive to improve. Why innovate when you are guaranteed customers by law? Why become more efficient when the government will just tax your competition? So these industries stagnate. They fall further behind globally. They become even less competitive, which means they need even more protection, which means even higher prices for you. It is a downward spiral, all justified by protecting jobs. Jobs that make you poorer. Jobs that would not exist in a competitive market. Jobs that are only there because you are forced to subsidize them through higher prices. But politicians get to say they fought for American workers. And voters hear jobs and think that is good. And the cycle continues. This same logic applies to automation bans. Dock workers recently went on strike demanding a ban on automation imports. They got a huge pay increase, 62% over 6 years. But the automation ban? Still being fought over. The union argues you cannot fight progress, but you also cannot let technology take jobs, which is nonsense. Of course, you can adopt technology. That is called progress. The Luddites tried to ban textile machines to protect weaving jobs. They failed. Because you cannot stop technology by law. You just fall behind while other countries advance. But unions exist to protect their members, so they fight automation. And politicians support them because supporting unions means supporting workers, which means jobs. Never mind that automation makes everything cheaper and better for everyone else. Never mind that consumers benefit enormously from efficiency. Never mind that fighting technology is fighting progress itself. We have to protect jobs, even if those jobs are standing in the way of improvements that would benefit millions of people. Because jobs, here is what nobody wants to admit. Your ability to work is your greatest asset. For most people, the value of all the hours you will work in your lifetime is worth more than your house, your car, your savings, everything. According to research, human capital represents about 2/3 of the average person's wealth. Your labor is your wealth. And anything that threatens that asset threatens you. This is why people fear automation. This is why they support protectionist policies. This is why they accept the job creation excuse. Because they need their jobs to survive. And that makes sense on an individual level. Of course you want to protect your income. Of course you fear being replaced. Of course you support policies that keep you employed. But what makes sense individually creates disaster collectively. Because when everyone fights to protect existing jobs, nobody can adopt better methods. When every industry demands protection, consumers pay higher prices for everything. When politicians justify waste by job creation, resources get misallocated on a massive scale. The economy stagnates, innovation slows, and everyone ends up poorer, including the workers you were trying to protect. This is the fundamental problem. We built an economic system where people need jobs to survive. Then, we built a political system that measures success by employment numbers. Then, we created an ideology that treats job creation as inherently good. And now we are trapped. We cannot adopt efficiency because it eliminates jobs. We cannot let failing industries die because that kills jobs. We cannot stop wasteful programs because they employ people. We cannot embrace automation because it replaces workers. Every decision that would make us collectively richer gets blocked because it would make some people individually poorer in the short term. And politicians exploit this by defending anything with it creates jobs. But here's the thing. Efficiency does not destroy wealth. It creates it. When you automate a process, you do not make society poorer. You free up labor to do something else, something more valuable, something that could not get done before because everyone was busy doing the thing you just automated. This is how progress works. This is how we went from 90% of people farming to feed everyone to 2% of people farming to feed everyone. Those farming jobs got automated. And instead of 90% unemployment, those people moved into other industries, creating new products, new services, new innovations, making everyone richer. The problem is not automation. The problem is that we have no system to handle the transition. When a job gets automated, that person loses income immediately. They do not instantly find a better job. They struggle, they suffer, and they understandably oppose the change that hurt them. So we end up fighting progress to protect people in the short term while making everyone poorer in the long term. Because we refuse to build systems that let people benefit from efficiency instead of being destroyed by it. Some people propose universal basic income as a solution. Give everyone money so they can survive without jobs. Then automation becomes good for everyone instead of threatening. But that requires massive tax revenue, which means taxing the people who benefit from automation, which they will fight, so we are stuck. Workers need jobs. Automation eliminates jobs. We cannot ban automation. We cannot fund alternatives, so we do nothing. And politicians keep justifying terrible policies with job creation. And everyone keeps accepting it because we do not know what else to do. But here is what we should do. Stop measuring success by employment. Start measuring success by output, by value created, by living standards, by purchasing power. If you can produce the same amount of stuff with fewer workers, that is good. That means people are free to do other things. That means production is efficient. That means resources are not wasted. If you can replace expensive human labor with cheap machines, that is good. That means goods are cheaper. That means consumers have more purchasing power. That means standards of living rise. If you can eliminate a job without reducing output, that is good. Because that person can now do something actually valuable instead of pretending to be busy. The goal of an economy is not full employment. The goal is prosperity, abundance, efficiency, giving people what they need and want with minimal resource expenditure. Jobs are just a necessary evil we deal with until we figure out how to make everything without labor. And the closer we get to that goal, the better off we are, even if it means fewer jobs. Because jobs are not the point. Output is the point. Value is the point. Prosperity is the point. And confusing jobs with prosperity is the worst mistake you can make in economics. So the next time a politician tells you we have to do something because it creates jobs, ask what it actually accomplishes. What value does it create? What problem does it solve? What product does it make? What service does it provide? If the only defense is job creation, it is probably garbage. It is probably waste. It is probably making you poorer while making some special interest group richer. And the politician is counting on you not to think about it too hard. Because jobs sounds good, and questioning job creation sounds bad. Even when that job creation is objectively harmful. We need to stop accepting this excuse. We need to demand that policies be justified by results, not employment. We need to measure economic success by what we produce, not how many people it takes to produce it. We need to build systems that let people benefit from progress instead of being threatened by it. And we need to stop letting politicians and special interests hide behind job creation when defending indefensible policies. Because this excuse has cost us trillions of dollars, decades of stagnation, and countless innovations we never adopted because they would eliminate jobs. That is the real cost of the worst excuse in economics. If you found this eye-opening, make sure you watch the video coming up next on your screen. We are breaking down more economic lies that everyone accepts without question. This is Money Trap Channel. We give you the truth that makes you think differently about everything. Stay disciplined. Stay focused. And remember, jobs are the cost, not the benefit. Now go question everything.